and welcome to What's the Best That Could Happen, a podcast to spread hope and action in the face of overwhelming global problems. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Jade Pace. My background is in solutions-focused community groups who are transitioning themselves to more sustainable futures. Here at What's the Best That Could Happen, we take a solutions-based approach by talking to inspiring individuals, business owners and community leaders who are not doing business as usual, but instead living out the changes they want to see in the world. Hopefully this podcast can be a place of sharing ideas and supporting one another so that we can together transition to the future we want to see. Today I'm on Ngarrindjeri country on the Fleurieu Peninsula of South Australia, talking to Barry Beach from Beach Organics, an NASAA certified organic farm. We talk permaculture, microclimates, natural building, and how to go one step further than fair trade. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I'm here at Beach Organics Farm Gate with Barry Beach, which is a beautiful permaculture property behind the coastal towns of Middleton and Port Elliot in Australia's Fleurieu Peninsula. And I'm just really excited to be here and learn more about this property you have here, Barry. Welcome.
Thanks, Ray.
How are you today?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, good. I spotted your sign down the bottom road.
Yep.
And one sunny Thursday afternoon cycled up here. And I think I was lucky enough to eat the most delicious chocolate I think I've ever tasted.
Yep.
And then you started telling me about the property and where the beans come from, and I just was extremely fascinated by it. So that's why I wanted to come back and learn more.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, maybe we'll start with the property here since we're here.
Yep.
When did it start, and can you paint a picture of maybe what it was like at the beginning and how it's changed over the years?
Okay, well, it was a treeless paddock in 1982-83. It was part of an old dairy paddock that was a dairy that existed across the road. So the road enabled us to separate this property out as a separate entity, and the desire was to set it up as a small-scale organic farming system. So we started by planting lots of trees. At the time I was interested in sustainable housing, so the second project was to build a mud brick house, and then things have slowly evolved from there.
Did you build the mud bricks with local materials, with mud and stuff from the area?
Yeah. So it was a cut and fill. So we got a bulldozer in to move some soil around. So the house was built from the soil it stands on. Wow.
I'm looking at it now. Is that the mud bricks I can see there?
That's it. Yeah. So they're all hand puddled and mixed with a little bit of straw. I think I moved about 400 tonnes by hand, and it was a labour of love, I guess you could call it. And I think I built it for about $12,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Considering the prices of property in Australia, that's pretty attractive.
Yeah. So it just demonstrates what people can do if they apply themselves, basically. So it makes housing affordable for everyone. Yeah.
Did you do it by yourself, or did you have people come in and help you?
I had some friends. So at the time there were half a dozen people who were like-minded, and we all helped each other build our own houses. So it was an owner-builder movement down here at the time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Obviously outside the house, you said it was treeless, which is hard to imagine now because it's just an absolute haven of trees. And I read that you have thousands of native trees, as well as you grow food crops.
Yep.
And you have a bunch of different food crops, I believe.
Yeah.
How do all those elements, do they help each other? Do they work together? How does it all... Yeah. It's obviously not a monoculture here. It's very much a diversity of things.
So it's what I call a permaculture design system. So we wanted to create an edible landscape where there's an interaction between native species and other things that we can harvest ourselves to consume. So I guess there are millions of inhabitants on this piece of land, and I wanted to create an environment where it was an integrated property which could sustain a multitude of different things.
So you don't separate clearly, like I can see native trees growing amongst your lavender and other things. You don't separate those two aspects of your property?
It's a happy mix. Yeah, I think it's a very important part of the property design, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got wattle species that will, drop their seeds. So we have an integrated poultry forage system, and the poultry will feed on the wattle seed. And it's high in certain nutrients that chooks and poultry like to eat. So that integration, I think, is very important in landscape design. We've got some of the wattle species and some of the other native plants will fix atmospheric nitrogen and phosphorus in the soil. And our soils are very old here, of course, and they're phosphorus deficient. So it's a good way to help manage those potential deficiencies.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know chooks like to eat wattle seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And
yeah.
I guess then when they poop, it then fertilises as well. Does that help?
Yeah, so chooks have a soft foot, so I believe they treat the land a bit kinder than a cloven-hoofed animal. And they provide a multitude of things. So you get obviously eggs, free-range eggs. You get pest control, weed control. You get feather dust, so it's high in nitrogen, and manuring of the soil. So it's important to have this cycle happening between an animal and the soil.
Yeah, great. So I also wanted to ask you about workshops here on the property. What was your desire? Why did you decide to run workshops?
Well, we've been doing this, managing this property for 40 years, and we also have projects overseas. So we've made lots of mistakes and had a few successes as well. So I think we've got lots of information to share. So it's an opportunity to provide that information to other people.
Yeah. Have you got any you'd like to share? Any either challenges that you've overcome or things you've learned along the way that stick out for you?
Okay, so I think it's really important to create microclimates. For example, at the moment we've got, we live in a very dry part of Australia. It's the driest state and the driest continent. But through very careful landscape management, we grow bananas here, for example. We've got citrus. In fact, we have over 100 varieties of fruit and nut trees. So I think with a permaculture map that we use, I think it's possible to create very viable, diverse, edible landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can create different climates within your one property and therefore grow a wider variety of things.
Yeah, that's right.
And does that also help if, for example, this year, everyone keeps telling me how it's unseasonably humid here. Does that mean because you've already got a variety of things growing, you've got your eggs in even more proverbial baskets?
Yep, yeah. I think if anything, over the last couple of years, we've realised that we need to take a little bit of ownership on how we consume food and what we consume. Local consumption, I think, is very, very important. So if we manage our landscape correctly, even in very diverse, adverse conditions, we can create these local food economies.
Yeah, which is great for so many reasons.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned at the start, or just there as well, that you have not only projects here in Australia, but you have some overseas projects, your village-based projects, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Which I heard a bit about last time when I was here buying the chocolate.
Yeah.
Because I believe that comes from one of the projects.
Yes.
What are they, and how did they come about?
Yeah. So even though we have quite a diverse landscape here, there are certain things that we can't grow in South Australia because of the climatic limitations and perhaps my lack of expertise. So we decided to set projects up in a range of continents overseas. So now we operate out of Indonesia, Africa and India, and potentially Bhutan if we can get back there. So they not only produce a range of products that are unattainable in South Australia, they also help support small communities overseas who are aligned to what we're trying to do here.
Mm. What sorts of things do you...
So we grow vanilla, teas, we have around 20 different types of tea, cacao to make our chocolate, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, star anise, ginger, 4 different types of turmeric, lots of different things.
You spoke to me last time I was here about the buying process of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the direct trade? Is that what you called it?
Yeah. So we have the fair trade business model that's widely recognised in Australia and in the West, but I believe we can go one step further and develop a relationship directly with growers and deliver a greater financial return. So our coffee project, for example, returns about 4 to 5 times more than the registered fair trade price. And that's put directly into the pocket of the grower. And that enables them to make quite strategic financial decisions at the start of each season. Mm. We also have very importantly, the ability to navigate our products through quarantine and imported foods without fumigation.
Mm. Is that common, that things would come in without fumigation from overseas?
No, most things get treated with various fumigants or gamma radiation.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had to set up teams, and this is what I call our village-based enterprise projects. So within small communities, we would embed a small commercial kitchen with dehydrators and the like, and they become our food hubs. Mm. So they enable us to process our food on site. Everything gets vacuum packed, so we have a central warehouse, and then we ship from the warehouse to Australia.
Wow. And then when they get here, you roast your own beans.
Yeah.
I saw a roaster inside.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a project to grow all of our coffee.
Yeah.
So we operate. Our most recent crop was from a place called Kintamani, which is in Bali.
Is this what we're drinking now?
Yeah.
It's very delicious.
Yeah, it is nice.
It's good.
Yeah. That's they practice this concept called Trihita Karana.
Okay.
Well, it's a template to look at 3 things. So it has 3 pillars. One is you have to look after the spirit of the land. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of indigenous peoples of the world, they believe the land has a spirit that has to be honoured. Also, they look at community and family and the individual. So, and that is all interconnected. So, because of this concept called Trihita Karana and their very unique land management system, they have UNESCO registration. So this is why we ventured to Kintamani to support that sort of concept. Mm.
That's amazing. Who knew? So we're drinking UNESCO protected coffee.
Yeah, that's right. Huh. Yeah.
Fantastic. Where can people drink your beautiful coffee? Or
we do have a website, so beachorganics.com.au. We have our humble farm gate pop-up retail, so you can rock up to our farm. And we have a store in Adelaide at Plant 4 Bowden.
Perfect. Mm. And is there anything else that you want to say about it?
Get growing.
Get growing.
Yeah. Plant something, become a little more self-reliant. If you can, develop sort of a home-based food economy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a simple way to make a contribution towards negating the effects of climate change, for example.
And it's fun, growing your own
It's great
food.
fun.
And it tastes better when you've grown it yourself.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Something magic happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to What's the Best That Could Happen, and a huge thank you to Barry for his time today. If you enjoyed the podcast and want to see more, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and feel free to share this podcast around with anyone you think might like it. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you're growing or what you might start growing at home. Here are the microgreens that are on my kitchen bench at the moment. They're a super easy way to start growing your own food. You can also find this podcast as an audio-only version if you prefer that format on all the usual podcasty places. There'll be links in the description below. Till next time, bye.